Hi there, my name is Shaun Bindley and this is Meet the Ministers. My guest on the program this evening is the Shadow Minister for Government Services, Building Industry and Information and Communication Technology, the member for Mudgeeraba, Ros Bates. Ros, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, Shaun.
You're originally a Victorian.
I certainly am. I think a lot of people from Queensland who live in Queensland now have come from interstate, but I've actually been here for about 14 years, but my family moved up here, 25 years ago, so Queensland was always my second home anyway.
Grew up in country Victoria though?
I did, a little country town called Hillsville, which had about 4,000 people in it. My family were some of the original founders of Hillsville, so they were old dairy farmers. We had 3 farms there at one stage, and I think E.A. Bates's dairy was a well-known local icon for about 80 years in Hillsville.
I love the fact that you're the daughter of Snowy and Barb Bates from Hills.
Oh, I know.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so funny names for both my parents. It was that age where, I mean, my dad's real name was Albert Ross, but I don't think anybody in Hillsville would know that was his name. Yeah. He got called Snowy because of his white blonde hair and his football prowess. And my mum, whose name was Barb, was really Mary Josephine. Enjoy
living in country Victoria? Growing up was a good lifestyle for you?
Oh, I certainly did. It was a lovely area, a beautiful place to live. Got lots of friends from there still, and the Bates name is still very well known down there in Hillsville.
You mentioned your father was involved with the Country Fire Authority as a volunteer down there?
Yes, he was. Certainly when we look back at the fires that were in Marysville and around King Lake, etc., that was a bit too close to home. I think the bushfires actually got to about a kilometre from Hillsville at one stage there. So I certainly understood exactly what those fireys went through on the day. In fact, was busy watching CNN to see one of my cousins being interviewed because he was one of the Rural Fire Brigade.
Yeah, I think regardless of where you live in Australia at the moment, you know somebody who's been touched personally or either via friends. I mean, just from a work association, I know many people who've been touched by the fires over the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. My aunt and uncle fought the fires in Murrindindi twice in 48 hours to save their farm, and they're in their 70s.
Wow. Tell me about Ros Bates as a teenager growing up in Healesville. How would you describe yourself looking back?
Well, the daughter of a school teacher. In fact, Mum was 3 generations of school teacher. She taught at the state school, and we all went to the Catholic school across the road. So most people knew who we were because we were Mrs. Bates's kids.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think people certainly knew who we were, and Mum was a very loved school teacher. In fact, she taught in Hillsville for about 30 years, so she ended up teaching kids of kids that she taught before, which was quite interesting. So, and of course, Dad being at the local milkman there at one stage, and my 2 uncles delivering the milk to school, because we used to get those horrible triangle hot milk drinks delivered to school. I used to make excuses to go to the classroom because I knew it was one of my uncles who'd be delivering it.
Back then at school, did you have an idea of where you might end up post-school? I mean, we'll talk about your career in nursing, sure. But did you have an idea of where you were heading at that stage? I know there was a couple of years between finishing in school and going into nursing, from what I can see from my research.
Yeah, I actually wanted to do medicine for a long time, and I went the complete opposite direction and went into the bank for a couple of years before I realised that I actually did need that high school certificate, and went back to get that, and so that I could do my nursing as well. But when you're 16 years of age and a little bit wayward, then and you wanted to get out and earn your own money, then it didn't matter what your parents asked or told you at the time. You had to go and find your own way in life, and so I sort of took a circuitous route to where I am now. It
was a pretty common thing, coming out of the 70s into the 80s. Unless you were kind of planning on getting married or going on to university, nursing in many cases was the obvious career choice for women.
Well, it was either in those days nursing or teaching, and having seen 3 generations of Mum's family being teachers, all 3 girls in our family all went nursing instead. So, so my older and younger sister are both nurses as well. I think at one stage all 3 of us were all in Melbourne doing our nursing training.
Was it something that your family expected you to find your way into? Do you think?
No, in actual fact, I think Mum and Dad were quite surprised that I went nursing to begin with, because I would have been the first one to pass out at the sight of blood. But funnily enough, when I did go nursing, there was never a time where I was ever faint. So,
And so why did you do that? I mean, if that was the attitude, and I guess being surrounded by it at home. Did it look like the career that you thought would suit you? Because, I mean, we'll talk about this, but you rose as much as anybody, as far as anybody can, in the nursing profession.
I think I had a good background in it because my older sister was doing her training at the time, so I certainly didn't go into the profession not knowing what I was going to be in for, and I think that's a problem these days with nursing being in universities, that the reality of nursing is actually not what happens in university. You only actually find that when you hit the wards.
Is that a good thing? Do you think that change has come in? I remember when that change happened, when nursing became a degree. You were going to university and you were no longer doing your training in the hospital 5, 6, 7 days a week.
I was one of the last groups out of Box Hill Hospital training before it went into university. And I remember back then the argument for nursing to go into university was that there was going to be so many technological advancements that we would have to have a university degree to be able to be nurses. The reality is that most of those machines you have to learn hands-on in the ward, so I'm not quite sure whether that was the correct basis for taking nursing into university. Having said that, nursing is a profession that does require a university degree, but I think the problem is that there is not enough hands-on nursing these days in the training.
But do you enjoy it as a career?
I actually loved it, and I was quite good at it. I initially started as an enrolled nurse. Back in those days they were called nurses' aides, so I did that, and I topped the state at Prince Henry's Hospital when I did that, and then I went on and did my general nursing at Box Hill Hospital. I really enjoyed that too. Got high distinctions all the way through my nursing, so but I really enjoyed the practical part of nursing.
What makes a good nurse?
The ability to listen. You really need to use all of your senses as a nurse. But
a lot of information coming from a lot of different areas at the same time.
Absolutely, and all of these technological advancements that we were supposed to go to university for should only really be adjuncts to what you already know as a nurse.
Yeah. Now, you actually moved on from that, and you went into management. You've risen to all sorts of different areas. We're going to come back and after the break and talk more about this. My guest on the program this evening is the member for Mudgeeraba, Ros Bates. We'll be back after the break.